Mrs. Omoni, a noble woman, lived in a faraway city. She lost her husband when her children were little. The last child was just 3 months old when she became a widow. Since then, she had refused to get married again. Her husband left a house for her, and she was so lucky none of her husband's people were willing to drag things with her. In short, she was not rich, but she was comfortable. Mrs. Lara Omoniyi had a lot of admirers who wanted to either get married to her or have her as their woman. She refused all advances by maintaining her stand on the issue of men. All I want is to face my children, work hard, and live a free life, she would always tell her suitors. However, there was one stubborn man that refused to back off. His name was Ayuba. He was a very rich man who had lost his wife about 10 years ago. He wanted to remarry, but he could not get his choice. The day he saw Lara, he loved her at first sight. He didn't waste time in approaching her and told her about his feelings for her. Lara refused politely by telling him she wasn't interested in any relationship. He pleaded with Lara to give him a chance, but everything he said fell on deaf ears. Lara took her stand that she would not get married again. Ayuba devised all means to get Lara's attention and affection. He bought a lot of gifts for her and the children. Lara rejected all the gifts. He arranged lots of surprises for her. None worked out as planned. This got Ayuba confused and angry. One of his friends, Kunle, noticed this when Ayuba went to visit him. He decided to ask what he was angry about and why he refused to eat. Ayuba told him that he had feelings for a particular woman, a widow, but this woman will never give him attention. He explained all the things he had done and the amount of money he had wasted just to make her to love him. Ayuba's friend laughed. He assured him that he would help him. Ayuba was relieved. He ordered for his best food, pounded yam and egusi soup immediately. That day, he ate to his satisfaction and went home looking very happy. Kunle had two plans in mind. Plan A was to stage a scene where two hefty men would attack Lara on her way home from work. Ayuba would come right in time to save her from being hurt. If Plan A did not work out as well as planned, they would have no choice than to execute Plan B. Plan B was to capture Lara's children and place a heavy ransom on them. Lara would have no choice than to run to Ayuba for help. Ayuba would use that opportunity to propose to Lara all over again. Kunle told Ayuba to act well so that Lara would not suspect a thing. Lara closed late from her place of work the day they planned to execute Plan A. As she walked through a narrow street, she saw two huge men approaching. One grabbed her purse, while the other one grabbed her. She cried out for help, but no one was there to help her. Like a flash, Ayuba appeared. He pounced on the two guys. He kicked the first guy and collected Lara's purse. He gave the man that held Lara's body a heavy blow to his head. The two guys ran away groaning in pain. Lara looked at Ayuba as if she was watching a movie. She smiled as Ayuba handed her the purse. Ayuba held up his shoulders. He felt victorious. He felt like a hero. That night, Ayuba accompanied Lara home just to ensure there was no impending danger. When Lara was about to enter her house, she leaned up and gave Ayuba a peck on his cheeks. Ayuba laughed. He was happy. He received the peck with gratitude. He called Kunle to gist him about the success of Plan A. Twice, Lara accepted to go out on a date with Ayuba to appreciate what he did for her. When Ayuba proposed for another outing, Lara declined. She thanked him again for the other time. She explained to him that she had no feelings for him and that she was not ready to be in a relationship with any man. Ayuba was sad again. He refused to eat nor talk to anyone. When Kunle heard what happened, he told his friend that they should switch to plan B. Ayuba knew the time Lara's children would be alone at home. He arranged for them to be adopted secretly, without the neighbors' knowledge. Lara got home that day, only to realize her children were missing. Her phone rang and she picked it up. It was the kidnapper's voice she heard. He told her that her children had been kidnapped and that she must pay a ransom fee of 150 million naira for them to be released. She was warned not to report to the police if she wants to see her children again. Lara could not breathe properly again. She could hear a heartbeat. She told the kidnapper she wanted to hear the voice of her children to confirm. The kidnapper put the call on speaker and she heard them. They were groaning in pains. Tears fell from her eyes. Her world had been taken away from her. Where will she start from? As soon as Lara dropped the call, she heard a knock on her door. It was Ayuba. He came in right time when Lara needed someone. Why is this stubborn man always coming when I need him? Lara thought silently. With tears on her face, she told Ayuba all what the kidnapper said. Ayuba assured her that he would help her to get the money. Lara was surprised. She stopped crying and said, "Thank you for all you are doing for me and my children. But how and where will you get the huge amount of money?" Ayuba used that opportunity to confess his undeniable love for her. "The love I have for you is beyond money, dear Lara. I want you to be my wife if we are able to cross this hurdle together." Lara kept quiet. She needed to get her children back as soon as possible. But the issue of getting married to Ayuba is another problem she would have to deal with later. Ayuba took up the case. Negotiations started, and the kidnappers accepted 50 million naira. Ayuba lied to Lara that he took a loan from the bank because of her. He warned Lara not to inform the police. She did not, but she informed one of her brother-in-law, Tunde, about the abduction of the children, and the kidnappers did not want the police to know about it. Tunde smelt a rat. Is Ayuba trying to get the attention of my brother's wife? He asked himself. On his second thought, Tunde decided to inform the police just in case things get out of hand. On the day the children were released, Lara and Ayuba walked into the forest. Ayuba was the one carrying the briefcase. He has stocked the background with lots of new papers and filled the surface with money. The children noticed they were farting in the morning that day. It was a terrible smell. They had been fed with beans a day before, but somehow that did not go down well with them. When they heard that their mother was coming with money to save them, they felt for her and decided to save themselves without pressurizing their mother. Kunle and Ayuba had their plan. Tunde had his plan, while Lara's children also had their own plan too. Kunle was the head of the kidnappers. The two hefty guys that once attacked Lara were assistants. They used face masks so as not to be easily identified. When it was almost time, Kunle commanded the two guys to go and bring the children. When they got to the place where the children were kept, the first man, nicknamed JD, bent down to unlock the chains. The children's mouths had been sealed up so they will not shout. Lara's first child, Olu, signaled to his younger brother, Lanre, that it was time to break the wind. He did. It sounded slightly loud, right behind the man that bent down. The offensive odor polluted the air. The children covered their noses with their hands, including the person that farted. They began to hum a sound. The other man, KD, that was standing, sniffed his nose repeatedly until he could not take it anymore. He landed a hot slap on the man that bent down. JD. The fat was so toxic that it penetrated through the mask they put on. "Why did you slap me?" JD straightened up. He had forgotten that he had loosed the chain. His eyes were red. "Why is your fat smelling badly? I told you not to consume too much beans again. You will not listen. You almost made me vomit." As they were arguing, Lara's first child stood close to KD and let out another smelly fart. This time, it sounded like a blocked trumpet. JD wrongly assumed that it came from KD. It smelled badly more than the stench of a rotten fish. JD slapped KD back. "Seapot, calling kettle black. Your fat is worse than the smell of a rotten egg." The two men started fighting. They didn't know when the children escaped. The children tiptoed to where Kunle stood, waiting for Ayuba and Lara. Olu signaled to the last child, Sheyi, that it was her turn to break the wind. She was the only girl. Hers was noiseless but poisonous. It circulated where Kunle was staying, polluting the air around him. "What is smelling so bad here? Where is the offensive odor coming from?" Kunle asked no one in particular. He covered his nose with his hands. He got carried away with the smell and didn't know when Lara's courageous first child smashed a big rod on his head from behind. Kunle gave a loud shout and fell on the ground. The three smart children ran away for help. KD and JD appeared with their swollen faces. Immediately they heard the strange sound of Kunle. Fortunately for Lara's children, they came out of the abandoned building the time their mother arrived at the place. Ayuba held the briefcase closely to his side. Outwardly, he pretended to look disturbed, but inwardly, he was happy. He held Lara's hand intermittently to give her a reassuring squeeze. He was rest assured that Plan B would work. But when he saw Lara's three children, everything changed. The fake briefcase he was carrying fell from his hands. Different thoughts filled Ayuba's mind. "These little devils have finally finished me. How on earth did they escape?" Lara ran past Ayuba to hug her children. Her first child eyed Lara suspiciously. "It is finished. The best is to run away and never come back again," Ayuba thought. As Ayuba was about to turn back, he saw policemen all around him. Some went into the abandoned building, while some shielded Lara and her children. Tunde stood, looking at Ayuba suspiciously. The policemen arrested Kunle, JD, and KD. Ayuba was not left out. He confessed all he did with his friend just to get the attention of Lara. They were convicted and sentenced to 6 years imprisonment with hard labor. Lara and her children lived happily ever after.